Rising from Ashes is about the first Rwandan national cycling team and their bid to make the Olympics.
These guys are national heroes in carrying on and changing the history of a country.
I'm producing 2 movies here, one for TC and one for Steve, who's going to be here in the US while we're in Rwanda, thousands of miles away.
BTS is our documentary web series that we've been wanting to do for over a year. It's about TC, the director of that film, and his journey and everything it takes for them to creatively put this project together.
I got a feeling that a lot of people just think, oh, you just take out some cameras, point it at the action, and it comes together, but it's so much more than that.
We really have to have our own camera crew, our own producer, our own director, and we're in there making our film about these filmmakers.
The logistics, all the detail planning that goes into it is just mind-boggling.
This is not a reality show. This is not that featurette that movie did.
And I think you're going to see the pain, everything that you go through, the process. And people who've been in this process know that it is grueling.
The commitment it takes, the passion it takes, what it takes to actually pull this stuff off. You got to give your life to it.
4 filmmakers making 2 separate films on 1 location. It's going to be exciting.
This is just bullshit. I do not want to do this at all. I don't want to wait. I want to go now.
Transporting our gear has been quite the adventure for me personally. One, it's getting it all to Austin, Texas, and then it's packing it. We had way more than we needed, but it was every filmmaker's dream to see a garage full of the best technical equipment that you could ever need to tell a documentary story. Rechargeable batteries too? Yes. And when it was all said and done, we had over 16 cases that we were traveling to Rwanda with.
That I have is for North America, so since you're going outside of North America, it doesn't apply for the discounts.
About 20 pounds over on each bag. It's like 200 bucks.
It's 200 bucks a bag. So
we need to figure that out.
This film we've been working on for the past 5 years, the story of the first ever Rwandan cycling team and their attempt at the Olympics. And we're just getting ready for the last 18 days of production in Rwanda, Africa. So day 1, we get in at about 1 o'clock last night, and I woke up at probably 2, and you just start thinking about the story. You can't get it off your mind, and you're just wondering what you don't know. So this morning, we go and meet the cast for the first time. Great group of guys. We were shooting B-roll of the team riding, doing some training rides. It looks like the scene of a feature film. And we put 2 guys on motorcycles shooting 2 different types of cameras. So you're concerned. You've got 2 guys that are working for you that are now on the back of bikes. They're sitting backwards. I know that they're probably chafing their balls off in probably one of the most dangerous circumstances in the country. These guys don't have lines in the road. They honk. They're on each other's ass the entire time. And you're concerned. You don't know what's going to happen. And this is Africa. That's kind of the deal here, is you're walking into a risky situation to shoot these types of films. And you don't know if that thing's if it's gonna be shaky. You don't know if he's gonna get the shot. And the shots, when I looked at them, way better than anything I ever expected. So huge wins today in that. Great. So the shots come out, everything's starting to go really well. About halfway through the day, it just starts to happen. This time of season's rainy season, so you're playing this gamble game the entire time. So for 3 hours, a rainstorm comes and you're waiting and you're waiting. And lunch goes from 1, then turns into 3. And so you're feeling this huge sense of responsibility because you're burning cash, you're burning time, and you can't fight the weather. One of the things with an interview for me is the balance between capturing the story and letting the scene of the story where you're shooting it tell a story in itself. The metal roofs here, they make noise, and so your sound guy doesn't want to shoot here. It's raining, you don't know what's going to happen. We try 4 locations.
I'm not entirely interested in this room, but
It's nothing appealing, but except for some of these little pieces in here could act as it. We try one near an avocado tree, that doesn't work. The next location we go to, 15 riders show up. You just can't shoot there. By the time it goes down, we end up finding a garden to shoot at, and we're under a porch. And what we were trying to do is I'm a big natural light guy. I don't like setup light, and a lot of this film hasn't been shot that way. And so you're tweaking the light. And so I'm fighting that tension.
The boom off can hear everything. I mean everything. So it's a producer's job when the sounds go away. There's apparently a lot of unnatural noise, not to the environment. It's kids laughing and radios playing all around the neighborhood. Hello. Do you speak any English? Is it possible to be a little quiet? So, good? Thank you. How do I get up here?
So we had 4 interviews to shoot today, and we got 2, and they were a total bust. The light is gone in 2 hours, and we're gonna have to light this, and it's gonna I'd prefer not to do that. I didn't get anything I wanted because we were chasing the light. The dark skin here, once you get down to halfway through the day, you don't get it. And on top of that, you've got noise, you've got people screaming. And when you're talking about things like what we're talking about genocide and people losing their families, it's intense. And their English isn't that great, so you're constantly fighting this, am I getting it, am I getting it? And your interpreter is great because he understands what you're thinking, but you don't know what you're getting. I just didn't feel like I got it. And that's really tough. I'm looking at it today and I'm thinking, okay, I can look at this 2 ways. I can think it's a bust and stressed out, or I can look at it and say I got 18 days to get 4 interviews done. Because without a story, it's just a lot of pretty shots.
So really, I just need to plan the schedule like never.
So often you make a schedule in documentary, it totally goes out the door.
So I'm like, okay, this is a sweet schedule. Like, plenty of time to get from A to B. Everyone's gonna get to hang out, relax, have some lunch, have some breakfast. We even have Nutella. We can spread it on some toast.
We get up, schedule set, 15 minutes later, it's totally scratched.
He's like, hey, it's changed. Like, this thing's happening, the story opportunity happened. I'm like, okay, so there's the schedule. We'll just start again.
So you got 10 people that have their job for the day, that their job just changed in 5 minutes.
Inside, like, my hand is doing this, but outside I gotta do that.
It's the difference between turning a cruise ship, which takes a mile, or being in a rowboat that can turn in one paddle stroke. And where that applied today is we ended up going to a guy's house. We had 10 minutes to get it done. We need a go-go.
Betty, agora como?
Go-go! The great thing about having a first-class team is that we run in, I'm asking for 2 cameras. It's just crazy. We got a whole scene in 10 minutes. That's what documentary takes.
Everything like slows you down here. The weather, the language barriers. Just for, like, I can't do math in my head, and the exchange rate is like $5.90 to $1, which is difficult. Let me just say, exchanging money here is shady. We took the van with Abdul, our driver. We pull up to this parking lot and there's a bank next door. I was like, okay, getting ready. So we're going there, right? He's like, no, we're going there. And it's just like this empty room, like concrete floor, ceiling, walls. There's some rice in the corner, and there's just this dude sitting on a stool with a wad of cash in his hand and a calculator. And so I pull out my envelope, I start counting out 20s and 100s, and they're like, no, not that one, not that one. I was like, what? Well, why not?
5.8 and this one 5.9.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember?
What does that mean? Oh, it's a different exchange rate?
Yes.
He's like, no. A 20 is only $5.80 to the dollar, but 100's $5.90 because it's less money that they have to, launder or whatever to get the money beat it back into Rwandan dollars. Finally, we walk out with 116,000 Rwandan, which is like $250, but it feels like monopoly money because you have just like this stack of cash. And you walk out and all the kids are like, give me money, give me money, give me money. You're like, sorry, I don't have any money. Actually, I have a shit ton of money, but I can't give it to you.
So if you look behind us, it's probably blown out right now, but there's smoke coming up, or it's fog that's coming up off the hills. And the film is called Rising from Ashes. So this morning we're shooting the movie poster. John took a motorbike and came up here and scouted the light. So he knew what he wanted. We sat down last night, he showed me the photo stills to say, this is what I want, and let's orchestrate it. But then again, we had a whole plan. We get up at 7 and the riders won't get in the van. They decide they won't ride in cars. They ride their bikes everywhere. That's kind of law for them. Here we are, we're an hour outside, and it takes them 30 minutes to get here. We're totally sweating it. We don't know if we're gonna get the light. We're with John Russell. It's a little bit of a basket case sometimes because he's just insatious about getting there. He hates all the crews, he hates all the people, but he's good with it.
So good. That's it, killer. That's working, killer. Let's do one more. I'm done after one more. In your face. Okay, those ladies are in the pictures now. Are those ladies moving or not? Do you know? Okay, thank you.
Whenever I'm in a situation, I call it the person of peace. So I'm looking for the guy who's going to be who's got authority in that community and is respected. So this is Badeste. Badeste.
John Batiste.
John.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is John. This is John. We just met him on the side of the road. He spoke a little bit of English, and he helped move all these people out of the way for John to get our shot. So this is my man of the day. He's a friend, new friend.
Yes.
Yes.
One of the issues we keep running into is shooting a scene and then the massive crowds that come.
Sound. Record audio.
One of the difficulties in shooting in foreign countries is when you get these cameras out, the equipment, we're Mazungos, we're white, everybody is around us. So right now there's probably 30 people behind me that are all interested in what we're doing.
All of a sudden you have about 20 kids that run towards your camera. You gotta have crowd control.
I've always wondered why when a white person comes into a country like this, anywhere in the world, and they have a camera in their hand, why people freak out. And why you should worry about theft. And my friend Jake told me one time, he said, the reason is because what you hold in your hand could pay for 10 years of their life. When people here live on 63 cents a day, people are so poor.
Hopefully you have somebody else with you to kind of take their attention away from the camera so you can get the shot.
An area like rural Rwanda, they're not used to seeing Cyborg Boy walking around with, looking like some mechanized, audio soldier with all this stuff. And so, bam, you're useless once the word gets out and they all start flocking around you. I can't get anything at that point. And all I'm gonna hear is, give me money and Mazunga,
If we have two cameras, we use one camera as a decoy while the other guy goes and gets the shots that he needs.
What I ended up having to do was scribble in a notepad and look busy until I'm so boring that they lose interest after a while and they disperse.
So yeah, you kind of have to figure it out. I mean, that's the thing with documentary filmmaking is you gotta be flexible.
The iPad's been huge for just having dailies. I've got my whole film as it's being shot. That's a pro and a con. I wake up this morning, I've looked at the footage, and it's not what I need. And we've got to talk about the schedule because what Greg has planned isn't what we're going to do.
We had to hash this thing out, you know, some of the stresses that were coming up with the production.
That first day, you're out in the sun, we hadn't slept, it was fun, it's adrenaline, but once that adrenaline's gone, everybody just drops.
He's not afraid to bring conflict to the table and say, hey, I don't like this.
I don't have a lot of time. You know, every day I'm burning cash, I'm burning, you know, daylight. So we pull everybody together.
We don't have a cell phone, and I'm already feeling like the total jackass every time I go up to Jack and ask him to do something for me right now.
I'm creating headaches for you.
Yeah.
Right, you didn't even argue it.
Everybody's a little heated. Everybody's got that little kind of fire burning inside you. Like, if someone says like the wrong thing, you'll just take it, you'll snap, and you'll just go, no, this is how it is.
He wants to shoot. His role is.
Yeah.
And you're trying to balance that out.
I'm trying to your role. I'm frustrated because I want control. I'm not getting it. I'm not going to get it. And I've got to let go of that, and it's hard.
Part of the tension is the fact that we've got to work through a schedule that wasn't going to happen. And then we've got to talk about the cinematography. I know these guys are great, but I don't know necessarily that I'm getting what I really need. I don't care. I don't give a shit whether the other motorcycle's in there. I don't care if you see photos. Essentially, you hire a guy like Jake, who's an incredible DP. I've seen his work, all these different things. And then you get this stuff that day that's not there. I only have 2 days to do this. I need it now. I want it right now, not yesterday. I don't want to have to teach you. This is not the time to teach you anything. And I'm going, where's the style? Like, I'm panicking because I'm like, if we don't get this, I don't have a movie. First off, you're pissed. That's the hardest part of directing for me, is not blowing up. I told him I need more out of him. There was a moment that kind of told the story for me in the dailies, is that here's this peloton, this group of 19 riders, and it's just, I mean, they're screaming down the road, and they pass this guy, and he's on an old bike, and I don't think he has shoes on. And the team comes by, and this guy just starts barreling down, and he comes in, and they open up the peloton, and in the edge of the frame, after I watched 2 or 3 times, they let him in. And he gets there for just like maybe 20 seconds he can hang with these guys. And then he pulls out and the peloton continues. But we didn't shoot that. That's the story. This has not been the easiest film. I mean, it's been the hardest project I've ever worked on, because you're with guys that you work on something and you fight, and guys don't want to make the film, or they want to use the footage for promos or whatever it is, and you're constantly fighting because you're telling them, hey, you know, there's a real story here, and if we wait, it's going to pay off. And in the midst of guys looking at their clocks and saying, oh, I don't know if I have time for this, and you're going, man, do you have any idea what this story could do if you just give me the time? And you're constantly fighting against people who don't see the same value as what you value. So that But at the end of the day, you look at these guys and you go, this matters. This really matters. Matters to me. Those 5 guys, when I look at them on the screen, it matters. I hope my story is what their story is. This is just bullshit. I do not want to do this at all. I don't want to wait. I want to go now.
So the other morning, was that yesterday morning? We went to the lake.
Oh yeah.
Was that yesterday morning?
Great. You bastard. I know where you're going.
What?
Just go.
See if you could just talk to me about chasing light.
Yeah. I knew. See, you set me up. I knew. I should have known this question was coming. So what Jake wants to hear is the fact that we were chasing the light yesterday morning because we have one day. I've already argued it out and had to change the schedule so that we can go get one more day out in the country. Yeah.
There's the sun right there.
Yeah.
And it's at 5:47.
So how long will it take us to get to here?
When you continue?
No, up to here.
Up to
and then
here,
come.
it's like 20 minutes.
What time can we do it?
It's close, right? Because it's going to pop up in. It'll pop up in 5 minutes. So
Would you take the shot up here? The light's totally happening, and I kind of become a slave to the light, and so this thing starts going off. But as I said, the challenge is you get all these filmmakers in a van. We're going out. We want to hit 2 shots, and then we're actually going to go to the location. Well, the guys get out of the van, and everybody gets out of the van. It's like a horror movie and somebody says ghost. I mean, everybody just takes off to do everybody's shooting, and I look around and I'm like, what the hell just happened? And the sound guy, he's up at a church because they're singing, and I can't find anybody. And so the great light hasn't happened yet, and now all of a sudden we're taking off. So I'm in the van, and where's Sean?
Hey Greg, I think Sean went up into that church area to get sound.
Really? He's gonna get left. I'll tell you right now.
Just go run and see if you can see him.
No, I don't want to wait. I don't want to wait. I want to go now. All of a sudden, everybody looked at me like, what the heck? TC's willing to leave the sound guy? I was like, well, it was great leadership, TC. We drove up, and it was like a circus car on fire. Next thing you know, we're just charging down this hill. We see this peninsula. I know the light's it's about to come over this volcano, and it just started happening.
When I worked in the movie business, we used to call it magic hour, and I heard a lot of people actually call it tragic hour because it's the time when it's most beautiful, the morning and the evening, but it's also the time when you're kind of the most rushed because the light is fading quickly. Just really trying to capture kind of the beauty of Rwanda right now, sort of the countryside and the landscape. Everywhere you turn the camera, it was a good shot. You know, I didn't have to really do much. I can't even really articulate it that well, but if you show a leaf blowing in the wind, there's something nice about that. I don't know what it is, something kind of an innate characteristic, human characteristic that sort of, I don't know, we kind of gravitate towards that and it evokes emotions.
5 years ago, I was actually on this peninsula and saw it, but I couldn't get it, and so we got it. So the trip is broken out into basically 2 parts. We're with the team at the training center, and then we move into Kigali. We have 2 main objectives while we're in Kigali. One is to finish out these interviews, because that's going to be the main content of the film. And second is to cover this race that could potentially offer our ending to the entire film that we've been shooting over 5 years. So anytime you have a film like this, you got to find a liaison, someone who knows the culture and the people that can kind of help you out.
Someone that you can trust, someone that can get you places. It's everything.
Our driver, Abdul, is that guy.
He grew up here his whole life. He's sensitive to the story, he believes in the story, and he can speak into our film.
He's the one who's kind of coached me through this. I ended up in an interview, and the guy was lying. And he's having another conversation in Rwanda, but the other thing is he's a great translator. He's telling me things I don't know because I don't know what they're saying.
It's the little things. It's getting us groceries. It's helping me exchange money. It's telling me what's a good deal or what's a bad deal. It's like, don't trust this guy, trust this guy. What someone who is the color of his own people, who understands what we're trying to do, paves a golden road to making this film possible. Can we get some eggs? Eggs? Yeah? Yeah, I didn't know how to ask him. Eggs? Yeah. Yeah, for breakfast.
I can ask. Or we can go.
Do we have bread for like toast or anything?
Let's keep the eggs. I will show you.
Oh, is it a better place? Okay. See what I'm saying? I feel terrible. I put Abdul under extraordinary stress. Turning him, we're going one direction, we turn 360 degrees, go the other direction, but that would get us the same direction. I told you I couldn't do math. do a commercial for this right now. Be like, come on.
That was good.
For the camera, be like,
You're doing it after you'll become like tiger.
We got to Kigali and we had 4 interviews to shoot in one day, which was super aggressive considering the language barrier, translation, sound. There's people everywhere in Rwanda. I feel like I've got this timer that's stuck with me that says, okay, 18 days, but it's by the hour. I have to get these interviews today. I have to get them here. I don't have another choice. And I get the translator, I get everybody there, and then we start banging out these interviews.
You want to go scout out the place to do Clark's?
Yeah, I'd like to do it in the back somewhere. Okay. Or we can do it right under here.
Yeah.
I
think we could.
Sean probably won't like it too much. Sean's gonna hate us. Hey, Sean. So we're starting our first interview. Jeremy fights for the light. He finally gets his location.
And I really love the way it looked. We were filming this guy, and he was sort of in this door frame, and behind him was sort of this bigger kind of auditorium room with a ton of windows. And we had spent time set dressing it. I was ready to roll, and as soon as we were about ready to roll,
the roof starts, it's rattling. Next thing you know, you just hear wham, wham.
Entirely localized just in this circular area.
What's going on, Sean?
Well, it sure sounds like it's raining inside, but if you look up, I don't see anything. I see some kind of dark clouds, but I do not see any rain or feel it.
What's going on the roof?
We can't figure it out. It might be just the construction of that metal and the way it maybe hit the frame and the... That's a good thunder sound effect. It stopped.
Was that bugging you with the brushing?
I just trust Sean. If I don't trust Sean, there's just banging everywhere. Birds, avocados falling out of trees, it doesn't matter. The challenge has been between camera and sound. You've got your main camera op, which is Jeremy, and he's fighting for picture. And then you have Sean, who is fighting for sound. And I've never seen two groups of people kind of want something, but you can't meet them both. So you get great sound and the picture doesn't look so good. You get great picture, but the sound is awful. And we've shot several interviews on the strip that it's like, but I can't win. I'm kind of looking at both of them going, you guys argue between you because I can't figure this one out. I trust you both. Okay, plan B, we're going to spin it right here and set dress that corner and close those doors. Yeah? Okay. We don't have a choice, it's going to sound horrible. Jeremy kind of went with it, but you could tell he wasn't very motivated. Jeremy wants pretty pictures.
You know, I had to compromise the look of the film for sound, and that was probably the hardest one so far, just because I love the way that one looks. So it was a little frustrating. I had to compromise, but maybe we can go back to that location when it's not so windy and do another interview there, because I really like the way it looks.
I knew pretty early on. I knew Tom was passionate about cycling.
We interviewed one of the coaches, and then we moved on and shot the next interview, which was with one of the riders, Abraham. Who's racing tomorrow?
It's all about an interpreter. You can't get anything done without understanding their language.
One of the things you're watching for is the translator telling me the truth of what they're saying, or are they telling me something that the sentence didn't end and they've already interpreted what's been said?
You talk to JP, John Paul, today, and he says that he's very important to him from South Africa. He said he's very important to cycling in Rwanda.
Any interview you do in Rwanda is really limited. They only have about 10,000 words in their entire language, and they don't use a lot of words that involve emotion. If I asked you how you felt, they wouldn't understand that. So you've got to constantly be thinking a different way to ask a question. The reason for that is you've got to simplify it down so that you get your answer. But you're going through 3 parts of translation. That part makes it incredibly difficult. I'll ask the same question 3 or 4 times until I can figure out exactly what's the truth.
So a lot of people in Rwanda know him. How does he feel? How does...
Ask them if they're cheering for him.
Sorry?
Ask them if they're cheering for him. Cheering, the noise. So I want to see where these guys live. I've met some of them. I've been to their homes a few years ago, but now I want to see where they're at today. So we decided to go to Nathan's house. Hey, we can walk through and then we'll come out and shoot it.
This one is sleeping in the room.
Here, hold on 1 second.
Do you want me to
Come
get
stand right here. Can you shoot that? I want to take a picture. Hold on.
Can we get John?
Yeah. Take off my shirt. John Russell is probably one of the most unique guys on this trip. The light's beaming through this window. It's beautiful. We need a bounce board. Instead of John turning around and putting his back to the shot, he decides to take off his white shirt and use it as a reflector. So, yeah. The cultural embarrassment of John Russell taking off his shirt in the middle of someone's house. That guy's a slave to the light. I think I'm bad, that guy's bad.
I mean, it was cathedral-like light streaming through just a slit, and it was glorious. And yet, with Nathan's dark skin and all that, it needed a little bit of fill to take that light that's coming in, kick it back at him. It's literally the catch light. And they used to say, the eyes are the windows for the soul, and this is a pretty soulful place.
Yeah. They're scared of Mzungu.
I mean, that sky is
yeah.
You couldn't buy that. You couldn't even get that post.
Yeah,
Post toast
green screen. Nathan, who lives in this house?
Now it's not.
Well, the light's great until we get there, and 5 minutes later, a windstorm totally erupts. Okay. We'll do it. Am I going to get anything on an interview? John? Are you getting anything off his?
Well, who's shooting what?
Oh, I can cover it in B-roll if you want to shoot it.
All right, yeah, just need to make a note of it.
Okay. So what does this house say to the people in your community?
Second, please.
What do they think when they see this?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel.
You know, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, it's only as good as what I can hear. It's disaster. It's total disaster.
Planning for the race is the kind of thing that would keep me up at night.
It's a big, big deal.
It's been that looming storm on our horizon since we got to Africa, since before we got to Africa, since we started talking about coming back to Africa.
It's nerve-wracking. It's super nerve-wracking.
I just have this like recurring nightmare of one of our guys dropping a camera or something and it like tripping up a whole peloton of 120 riders.
Am I nervous? Heck yeah, I'm nervous.
What happens if we don't pull this off? I don't know.
I can't think about that right now. I can't think about what happens if this race doesn't work. This is just bullshit. I do not want to do this at all. I don't want to wait. I want to go now. The deal is, I have one objective that I have to get done at this point, which is cover this race. That is the Olympic qualifier. Well, I got 3 shots, one being the race, the other 2 are kind of to figure it out. They already catch him?
The first 2 that we're filming really are trial runs for us.
How do you do it? Do you shoot it in slow-mo? Do you shoot it from above? Do you shoot it profile? Do you capture it? Do you need like 3 different angles to make it dynamic?
Is there a red light going?
Yep. Something that we were really trying to figure out was how are we going to film the finish?
Here we go.
I mean, in racing, that's the ultimate kind of moment in any race is when they cross that line. Is it a photo finish?
It's perfect. It went really well. I shot today. Everybody was shooting today. And that's the fun part. You start grabbing the story as it's happening.
Major curveball thrown my way was after the last time trial. I got a call from within the race organizing team. Our ally in there gave me a call and said, "I'm sorry, man, but you guys crossed too many lines on that time trial. We can't use any motorcycles." And so I'm freaking out. So I brought Kristen, our associate producer, to an emergency meeting with the race organizer.
He's the organizer, I'm the head of security, and that's what you need to know.
Okay.
You know?
It was us saying, hey, admission of guilt. We want to talk with you to see whatever compromise we can make to have at least the motorcycles on the course with our camera guys. If they're able to
it's not allowed.
Right.
You know?
I know. At first it started with no motorcycles. I'm sorry guys, that's the rules. Then I was just kind of like, what if you could communicate to them? So the answer became, hey, find some walkie-talkies, have the motorcycle drivers have them, and have a single one that I can communicate to both of them. And so he's saying that now our riders have to ride forwards on the motorcycles, that it's, the Continental Championship rule book, section 2, whatever, and nobody knew what we would do. The race organizer kind of had this moment where he was like, after a few laps in the race, after people get calm, if you were to turn around backwards...
I'm not going to stop you afterwards and say, why did you turn around, or, you catch my drift.
And so we're like, duly noted. We get to the last time trial, so it's really our last chance to test everything out. And one of the ideas that we're trying to put into play is like, what if we could put a GoPro on a pole? That if we could raise it up like 10 feet above us, we could really probably try some very inventive stuff. And the difficulty was we had to kind of figure out on the spot in the morning, kind of, you know, before we went out there, how were we going to attach this GoPro to the pole? You know, we're innovative guys. You know, like the parts weren't there. I have duct tape. We think it'll work. You want to try this shot out. This is just us figuring out a way to get it done on the spot.
Oh wow, that looks great.
Jerry rigged, but it'll work.
TC came by and was not happy.
Gosh, my weak link on productions like this is, like, I have a ton of grace, but then when I snap, I snap. It's a shitstorm really quick.
This is just very unprofessional. This is not preparing in the morning.
Yeah.
Like, we have all the parts for this. This is just bullshit.
I think TC was just reacting, but subconsciously, I think, you know, it was a very strategic move to kind of get the crew ready for what was to come. Hey, be safe, good luck, okay? All right, thanks guys. See you guys.
The adventures of filmmaking.
We went out on a practice run today, and we were basically reduced to being about 20 meters in front of the whole pack of racers.
Matt, can you hear me? If you can, please move forward. I want you to be with my vehicle in the front.
Just coming to the realization that we may not be able to get the close-ups of Adrian. It was extremely frustrating.
So the motorbikes just came by, Peloton came by, the lead car came by, and the current setup's not going to work. We've got a lot of planning to do. We had always, even in pre-production, kind of entertained the idea of what if we could have a helicopter.
We started the morning by going to the airport and meeting with the helicopter pilots and talking about the route and how low we could go, and will the wind wash of being too low affect the riders, and how do you sit in the helicopter, how do you film out of a helicopter, how do you make sure you don't drop the camera.
TC, you know, was like a kid in a candy shop because he got one more thing to add to the fold of his storytelling of this event that was going to make a big difference. You know, it was just one of those things that's expensive, but you get what you pay for. After that point, it was really just to get back in a hotel room, get a map of Kigali, highlight the racetrack, and then start putting sticky notes and post-it notes and stars around, okay, this is where we're going to do this. This is where we're going to put this guy. This is where we're going to put this girl. We drove the course today. Just to give you a frame of reference of the map, this is the stadium and the start finish.
This is a pretty long stretch coming
right here.
Yeah, this stretch all the way till you get to this corner. I mean, it's pretty interesting, but I think, as this thing says, this is kind of a strategic point.
Really now it was about how do we take the talent in this room and place it into this race course.
So, okay, finish line, start finish, TC, motorbikes, Jake and Jeremy. The main thing that I knew I needed to walk away with was this kind of sense of confidence and peace that we planned what we could plan without planning things that are impossible to plan. And once we made those decisions, it was kind of like everyone knows their roles, everyone's got their gear, and now we just have to do it. And we just got to live with whatever consequences come from the choices we've made. Well, we woke up earlier than any human should. It was really gonna happen. Like, it's race day.
I went to bed that night thinking, you know what, I got this is great. But then I woke up around 4 a.m. And I had this nightmare, and it was very vivid. And I had never been up in a helicopter, but it was me in the helicopter shooting, except I was completely terrified. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I can't do this. Shook awake, and I didn't sleep for the rest of that morning.
Everybody was up early. All of the equipment was prepped, and people were out in the lobby waiting for Abdul to come pick us up. It didn't really start to get crazy until we get this call that's from the pilot, and he says, hey, I'm somewhere, my house is somewhere within the race course, and I can't get out, all the roads are blocked. So I can't make it to the airport. So we're like, all right, we'll find a way to come get you. So we divide crews. The way we figured out how to get to this pilot was our driver drives down the wrong way on a highway, dodges cars. We're constantly hiding from the race organizers because we're not supposed to be driving on the racetrack. And he breaks his way into this neighborhood, and we pick up the pilot in our own car and get him to the airport because we were not gonna miss out on this opportunity. So we get there, and we think we have, over an hour and a half of prep. We're gonna take a test flight, try some shots, figure out how everything worked. Well, we go on that test flight, and we come back.
We land for like a minute, and they're like, you know what, we gotta go right back up right now.
The president's helicopter is gonna be leaving in the next half hour, and he completely shuts down the whole airfield when he comes to use the airport.
Okay, let's go!
So we have to lift off way ahead of schedule, and my concern is like, well, where are we gonna go? And I'm not trying to create any undue attention to us from the race organizers at this point. So it's really a chess match right now. And we start circling the start line, and the race isn't gonna start for 30 minutes. We're burning money and fuel and time, and we decide we have to land. Well, the nearest place to land was right by the start line. And that was the one part that really kind of made me nervous because I didn't want to create a huge scene. As we start landing, I'm looking out the side of the cockpit.
Suddenly we're surrounded.
And they start banging on like the glass windows, and they're like trying to twirl like the rear rotor with their hands like after it shut down. And that pilot jumps out and he's kicking people away, and he's like, yeah, this is just the way it is. Anytime a helicopter lands, the crowds come.
And I was a little nervous about taking off. He's like, yeah, don't, those kids get too close, their heads will come off. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is real.
I finally raise up the race director on the walkie-talkie.
Okay, we will stay 150 meters when we are above the peloton.
That's it. Safety of the riders first, eh?
Thank you, JP.
Okay, Greg, thank you.
And he's like, we're all good, about to start, and we raise off the ground. Once people were in position and they knew what they needed to do, they were confident in accomplishing their objective, you just gotta kind of let it go.
It's like being on a roller coaster. You lock that thing down and, okay, we're on it.
The guy reaches his hand in front and he's like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then the crowd goes nuts. What happens in cycling, at least in this race, is like the weak are falling off the back. So we're getting closer and closer to getting our money shots, but we're having to wait for them because it's just kind of this mess of colors the entire time. So
we were not in the most ideal place. We were kind of at the mercy of our drivers, and
we're like, we need Adrian, we need to get close to him, we need to be able to film him. He's our story, but he's lost in all these other cyclists. So
for a while, we didn't think we were going to get any good shots.
He's just stopping for a second, I'm not sure why.
A motorcycle broke down and enabled our cameraman that just happened to be there.
When they finally got it working again, they were kind of right in the middle of the pack and were able to film Adrian.
I mean, essentially, everything's going as planned.
There's 3 laps to go. Everyone is on their feet because they know he's gonna do it. So he's not expending any energy. He's letting like the 5 people in front of him take all of the wind, and he's just cruising on the hill where he has his shot to make his move to get to the front. The unthinkable happens.
And in one moment, everything changes for the entire movie.
So you go from having the best chance in the world and it being written to a struggle in like the most epic battle you can possibly imagine. And for the last 3 laps, he's in the fight of his life to have a shot. I'll let you watch the movie to find out what happens.
You realize how out of control documentary is. It's like the world stops and starts going in slow motion.
It's a weird place to be because you have a job to do, but you also know what's on the line for the story.
And at that moment, you've got to go right back to your basics. I had to go back to my basics. Where are my characters? What's their transformation? When everything hit the finish line, the camera constantly has to be with the action. I had a camera, so that was kind of my safety net, is no matter what, if the plan fell apart, there was always plan B or C, which was I could shoot it myself. But they're great guys. I mean, the second I turned around, it was Jeremy, Sean, and I literally sprinting across a stadium to find him. And from the moment that he crossed the finish line till he left and kind of took himself out of the arena, we were with him. Jeremy's there, Sean's there, and we spread out, shot 2 cameras, and got great coverage. So
I believe we successfully covered this race.
I mean, we were there for the moments that mattered.
It was all pretty seamless.
Yeah, like any movie, you know, you get through a climax and somehow the story has to wrap up. And it's really those moments after the climax when you really kind of say what it's all about. A few of us, like skeleton crew, went out to the gravesite of the greatest catastrophe to happen to Team Rwanda.
It was Adrian's best friend, probably the most promising athlete for the Rwandan team. So we had gotten to Godfrey's grave to film it, and
it's just this like small patch of ground with a bunch of wooden crosses, and none of them are marked. And so you have this kind of artistic integrity decision. Do you film a grave and call it Godfrey's grave, or do you need to film Godfrey's grave? And Abdul borrowed someone's scooter and rode into this village and walked around the neighborhood until he found somebody who knew him. We found one of the people who had grown up with him her entire life, and she had this amazingly personal, deeply intimate interview with TC.
I mean, you're seeing a gal saying, you know, he was changing our whole community, he was changing our country.
It'll just be 1 minute. Jake?
At one point, she said, could we have a moment of silence and would you pray for us? And I was kind of caught off guard.
And he just completely broke down.
This is Janet. After Godfrey's parents died, Godfrey lived with Janet, and she asked if we would have a moment of silence for him. And I'd like to pray if you guys are okay with that.
I think we all felt, you know, the weight of the importance of this team to the country.
It was in that moment of silence I really realized what this whole thing was about, and just exactly what the story we were making.